In this video we'll go over subdomain 1 to 9 and its 6 controls in details which is focused on managing the cybersecurity risks and requirements related to personnel, which includes employees and contractors. The main objective of this subdomain is to ensure that these risks and requirements are managed efficiently, both before and after employment, in accordance with organizational policies, procedures, and related laws and regulations. Control 191 is about defining, documenting, and approving personnel cybersecurity requirements. This includes outlining the responsibilities of employees and contractors with regards to cybersecurity and ensuring that they understand and agree to these responsibilities before they are hired. This can include things like non-disclosure clauses that prohibit employees from sharing confidential information, as well as other requirements that are specific to your organization. An example of how this control might be implemented in practice is by including a section on cybersecurity in the employee handbook. This section would outline the specific cybersecurity responsibilities of employees, such as requirements for password management, safe browsing practices, and handling of confidential information. This section would be reviewed and signed by each employee as part of the onboarding process, to ensure that they understand and agree to the requirements. To implement this control, you would need to have a clear understanding of your organization's cybersecurity policies and procedures, as well as any relevant laws and regulations. You would also need to have a system in place for documenting and tracking employee agreements to these policies. Tools such as an electronic signature software or an employee handbook software can be useful in this process. It is important to comply with this control, as it sets clear expectations for employee behavior with regards to cybersecurity and helps to mitigate risks associated with employees not following cybersecurity protocols. The second control, 192, is about ensuring that the personnel cybersecurity requirements that were defined and documented in Control 191 are actually implemented within the organization. This includes making sure that all employees and contractors are aware of their cybersecurity responsibilities, and that they understand and comply with the organization's cybersecurity policies and procedures. To achieve this control, organizations should develop a comprehensive cybersecurity training program that covers all aspects of cybersecurity, including risk management, incident response, and compliance with laws and regulations. The training program should be mandatory for all employees and contractors, and should be repeated periodically to ensure that the information stays fresh and relevant. Additionally, organizations should have a system in place to monitor employee compliance with cybersecurity policies and procedures, and to take appropriate action if violations are detected. This might include disciplinary action for repeated or serious violations, and regular audits to ensure compliance. A good example of a company that implements this control is XYZ Corp., a large manufacturing company. They have a cybersecurity team in charge of developing and delivering cybersecurity training to all employees, as well as monitoring their compliance with policies and procedures. They also conduct regular audits to ensure that employees are following the established guidelines, and they have a system in place to address any non-compliance issues. To assist this control, organization can use tools such as security awareness training platforms like KnowBe4, PhishMe, or Proofpoint. Employee monitoring software like Veriato, or SpectreSoft. Compliance management platforms like Prevalent, or LogicGate. Control 193 is about the personnel cybersecurity requirements that must be implemented prior to employment. This includes steps that an organization should take to ensure that new hires are aware of and understand their cybersecurity responsibilities, as well as to protect the organization's information and technology assets. One example of how to implement this control would be to include specific cybersecurity responsibilities and non-disclosure clauses in the employment contract. This would make it clear to new hires that they have certain obligations to protect the organization's information and technology assets, and that they will be held accountable for any breaches of those obligations. Another example of how to implement this control would be to screen or vet candidates for cybersecurity in critical privileged positions. This might include background checks, security clearance checks, or other types of screenings to ensure that the candidate has the necessary skills and experience to protect the organization's information and technology assets. In Saudi Arabia, you can use AMN platform to do the background check via this link www.amn.net.sa/. Control 194 is all about ensuring that personnel cybersecurity requirements are implemented and followed during the employment of an individual in the organization. This control has two parts to it. 194.1 Cybersecurity awareness. This is about making sure that employees are aware of the cybersecurity risks and requirements that they need to follow while working in the organization. This can be achieved by providing regular training, awareness campaigns, and making sure that employees are aware of the organizational cybersecurity policies and procedures. 194.2 Compliance with cybersecurity requirements. This is about ensuring that employees comply with the cybersecurity requirements as per the organizational cybersecurity policies and procedures. This can be achieved by providing regular reminders, monitoring and enforcing compliance through disciplinary actions if necessary. To give an example, let's say that an organization has a policy that all employees must use a password manager to generate and store their passwords. As part of Control 194, the organization would provide regular training on how to use a password manager and the importance of password security. Additionally, the organization would monitor the use of password managers among employees and take disciplinary actions if an employee is found to be not using a password manager. Control 195 is about ensuring that personnel's access to information and technology assets is reviewed and removed immediately upon termination or separation. This is an important control to implement because it helps to minimize the risk of unauthorized access to sensitive information and technology assets after an employee or contractor has left the organization. To implement this control, organizations should have a clear process in place for reviewing and revoking access to information and technology assets upon an employee or contractor's termination or separation. This process should include a review of the employee or contractor's access to all systems, applications, and data, as well as any permissions or roles they may have had. In addition, organizations should have a mechanism in place for quickly revoking access, such as an automated provisioning and deprovisioning system or a designated team responsible for managing user access. It is also important to communicate with relevant parties such as IT, HR, and security teams to make sure that access is removed and that the user is not able to access any system anymore. One example of how an organization might implement this control is by using an Identity and Access Management (IAM) system that can automatically revoke access to information and technology assets upon an employee or contractor's termination or separation. This system would be integrated with the organization's HR and IT systems, so that when an employee or contractor's status changes in HR, their access to information and technology assets is automatically revoked in the IAM system. Another example is to have an incident response plan that outlines the steps to be taken in the event of an employee or contractor's termination or separation. This plan should include a checklist of actions to be taken, such as disabling the user's accounts, revoking access to systems and applications, and so on. In conclusion, Control 195 is critical for organizations to implement as it helps to protect sensitive information and technology assets from being accessed by unauthorized parties after an employee or contractor has left the organization. Control 196. It's all about personnel cybersecurity requirements must be reviewed periodically, is important to ensure that the organization's personnel cybersecurity requirements are up to date and effective in protecting the organization's information and technology assets. The objective of this control is to review and update personnel cybersecurity requirements on a regular basis to ensure that they align with the organization's current cybersecurity policies and procedures, as well as any relevant laws and regulations. To implement this control, the organization's cybersecurity function should establish a schedule for reviewing and updating the personnel cybersecurity requirements. This schedule should be based on the organization's risk appetite, the frequency of changes in laws and regulations, and the organization's overall cybersecurity posture. During the review process, the cybersecurity function should assess the effectiveness of the current personnel cybersecurity requirements in protecting the organization's information and technology assets. The function should also evaluate any changes in laws and regulations that may impact the organization's personnel cybersecurity requirements. Based on the findings of the review, the cybersecurity function should make recommendations for updating the personnel cybersecurity requirements, which should then be reviewed and approved by the Cybersecurity Steering Committee and authorizing official. Examples of tools and technologies that can assist in reviewing and updating personnel cybersecurity requirements include cybersecurity management software that helps to track and manage personnel cybersecurity requirements. Compliance management software that can be used to ensure that the organization's personnel cybersecurity requirements are aligned with relevant laws and regulations. Risk management software that can be used to assess the effectiveness of the organization's personnel cybersecurity requirements in protecting the organization's information and technology assets. Examples of illustrations for this control could include images of a team reviewing and updating a document labeled Personnel Cybersecurity Requirements, or an image of a computer screen displaying a compliance management software application. In summary, Subdomain 1 to 9 is focused on ensuring that cybersecurity risks and requirements related to personnel are managed efficiently. This includes defining, documenting, and approving personnel cybersecurity requirements, implementing these requirements, conducting screening or vetting of candidates for cybersecurity in critical positions, providing cybersecurity awareness training, ensuring compliance with organizational policies and procedures, reviewing and removing access to information and technology assets upon termination or separation, and conducting periodic reviews of personnel cybersecurity requirements. It's important to keep in mind that this is a continuous process and the organization should review and update its policies and procedures accordingly. It's also important to make sure that the organization's personnel cybersecurity requirements are in compliance with related laws and regulations. It's highly recommended to have a dedicated person or team that's responsible for overseeing this process and ensure compliance.